Question: what's better than food? Answer: food that tastes like other food. It's become an obsession in the culinary world, from red velvet ice cream to buffalo chicken pizza. We love taking our favorite foods and combining them into a hybrid concoction. Sometimes two foods come together to create complete bliss. Now today I'm going to show you the perfect example of that, and it's French toast cupcakes with maple buttercream frosting. We're taking two delicious foods, French toast and cupcakes, and we're fusing them together to create the most delicious, sinfully sweet baked treat you've ever had. So let's get started. So we're going to start with our essential butter. I've got 2 sticks here. This is equal to 1 cup. You gotta have a lot of butter if you want to make a good cake. And it's also essential to making good French toast. So I'm going to get this into the mixer here. And we're going to add in 2 cups of sugar. Okay, there we go. We're going to cream this together now on a medium speed. You want to make it light and fluffy. Okay, this looks good to me. So now we're going to beat in our eggs one at a time. I have 4 of them. And what I always do when I have to crack eggs is I have a little garbage bowl, so you have something to do with the shells after you crack them besides just tossing it onto the counter. Now we're going to beat after each addition instead of just throwing them all in there at once, because that helps it get nice and incorporated into the batter. Just a low speed is fine. Alright, our eggs are added in. Now we've got to add the rest of our liquid ingredients. So we have vanilla extract, which is a common contender in cake batter no matter what flavor you're making. But it is really good for the French toast flavor too, because a lot of people use vanilla extract when they're making their batter for the French toast. And as a special little treat, we have maple extract. It's going to make you think of the syrup that the French toast is drenched in. Okay, and then we're going to do the maple. It smells like syrup. Perfect. And now we're going to beat this in as well. Do you think that because these are French toast cupcakes, we can eat them for breakfast without people judging us? I think yes. Okay, this looks good. Now we're going to add buttermilk. We don't always have buttermilk in cakes, but I find that this makes it light, fluffy, and even adds just a little bit of tang to it. It's really ideal for creating a moist texture in this cake, which is what we definitely want. So 2 cups going in. And do half of it at a time. Now the mixture is going to look curdled. That's normal. Don't worry about it. And now we're going to put the other half in. Alright, let's give this another mix with our spatula. It's very liquidy right now, but we gotta add the dry ingredients and that'll fix that. So, in this bowl, we got flour, baking soda, baking powder, salt, and a little bit of cinnamon. The reason why we're using both baking powder and baking soda, it's going to make this really fluffy and rise up in the oven nice, and that's definitely what we want. So I sifted these together. That makes it nice and light and helps keep it from clumping up. And we're using cake flour instead of all-purpose flour. Now the difference between the two is that cake flour is just a little bit finer, which makes your cake even fluffier and not so dense. You don't have to use the cake flour, but if you want a lighter, fluffier cake, you probably should. So we're only going to mix in a little bit at a time. Probably about a quarter of it. Put it on a low speed. Let's do a little bit more. Now these cupcakes are delicious enough on their own that if you want to skip the frosting and just make it more like a muffin, you can definitely get away with that. They'll be sweet and flavorful enough even without the frosting. But I'm always a fan of frosting. It definitely adds something, especially if you have a sweet tooth like I do. Okay, that's the last of our flour. Let's beat it in. Now, there is a lot of batter here, so make sure you get down there and mix it all together, because sometimes the flour gets stuck at the bottom, it gets stuck on the sides, and you'll be pouring it into your pan and then all of a sudden this huge lump of flour falls in, and that's just extremely discouraging. I'm going to give it one more go with the mixer. So now that our batter's done, we've almost got French toast cupcake batter. Now I say almost because we've got to add something a little extra to really make this taste like French toast. So we're going to start and pretend like we're done with this, and we're going to fill up some cupcake tins with it. Now I've already got these lined with liners. I'm going to use a ladle to do this. It's just easier to dispense it and ensures that all the cupcakes are going to be the same size. You can also use an ice cream scoop. That works really well too. So we're going to take a ladle full of our batter, pour it into one of the cupcake liners. I like to do mine about 3/4 full instead of the usual 2/3 because I like them to get big and puffy. Now what we're going to do once we put the batter in is we're going to add a streusel to it. Now all this is brown sugar, cinnamon, and more maple extract. What this is going to do is going to give us little pops of flavor inside of the cupcakes that really taste like the French toast. You know, that caramelized topping that you get on the outside of the bread. That's what's really going to take these over the top. So I'm going to crumble just a little bit over the top. I'd say about a teaspoon per cupcake. Then we're going to use just a plain butter knife and swirl it in. Alright, once you have that swirled in nice, you're good to go. And we're going to do this for all the rest of the cupcakes, and then we'll get them baking. As usual, my dog has smelled food and come running. She thinks she's getting a cupcake, maybe if she behaves well. Now our batter is all good to go. We got all that good stuff swirled in, so we're going to pop this into the oven. I've got it preheated at 350 already, and we're going to do the cupcakes for about 15 to 20 minutes until they're golden and they've got a nice round top. Sorry, Reese, it's not time to eat yet. And there you go. Set our timer. And now me and the dog are going to argue over who gets to eat the first cupcake. You see this? This is typical. This is what I do to clean up. I let the dog go to town. There's no need for brooms or vacuums when you live in a house with Reese. She's like a living, breathing vacuum. It's a good thing too, because I'm a slob when I cook. Okay, it's time to take these cupcakes out of the oven. They smell amazing. Take a look at this. You see how the streusel created almost like a marble effect on them? Now we gotta let these cool, which really is the hardest part of baking cupcakes, because let's be honest, I just want to eat them right now. In the meantime, I'll get my second batch going. I'm watching you, dog. You stay away from those cupcakes. Alright, we're almost done. Alright, our cupcakes are all cooling down, and as you can see, they really look like French toast. Doesn't this look like the topping that you see after you make French toast? Look who thinks she's getting some. Not just yet, Reese. We're still not done. So I'm going to cut this bad boy in half so you can see the inside and see all that streusel. It's still warm. Oh man. See how all that brown sugar got inside of there? Yeah, that looks like some good stuff, right? So now we're just going to let these finish cooling, and then we can get on to my very favorite part, the frosting. Well folks, it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. We've got to make the maple buttercream frosting. Now I have 4 cups of powdered sugar here. We're going to pour this right into our mixer. Then we're going to add in 2 sticks. This is 1 cup of softened butter. It's got to be softened. If you put it in too cold, it's going to be too stiff for the powdered sugar to incorporate into it, and it's going to form into little balls instead of getting nice and fluffy and smooth like we want it to be. Alright, we're going to beat this at a very low speed. Now you actually only want to put in a little bit of powdered sugar at a time, otherwise you're going to have a mess. So we're going to start with about a quarter of it in there. Alright, our last bit of sugar going in here. Now, we've got to make this taste like maple syrup. So, we're going to start with maple extract. You're going to need about 5 teaspoons of this. It sounds like a lot, but you really need a lot of it to make that maple flavor come through. There goes the rest of my maple extract. Okay, and then we're going to do a teaspoon of vanilla extract. In it goes. And then to really bring out the flavor in our cupcakes, we're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Now, I know this is frosting, which is meant to be super sweet, but we are going to add a pinch of salt. Salt goes into pretty much anything. Even if you are making something sweet, it's going to add a little bit of balance to the flavor instead of being just overly sweet and sugary. And then lastly, we want to start with a tablespoon of our cream. You can add up to 2 tablespoons depending on how you need your consistency. I'm just going to start with 1. Alright, now let's beat it all together. Alright, looking good. Now we're just going to have to do a quick taste test. Gotta make sure you have enough of the flavorings in there, right? And it just gives us an excuse to try it. That's perfect. Now we're ready to actually move on to frosting our cupcakes, so let's grab a couple and get going. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can just use butter knife, spread it on there nice and smooth, that's fine. If you have piping bags and you want to pipe it on really fancy, you can do that too. Today I'm going to do something that's a little bit in between there. I don't have fancy piping bags, so I'm going to make my own. All you need is a large Ziploc bag like this one, and what we're going to do, open it up and stuff some frosting into it. Alright, I got all the good stuff in the bag, so now I've got to work it downwards into one bottom corner of the bag. Now once you get it down there, I'm just going to snip off this corner right here, however big or small you want it to be. And voila, instant piping bag. Let's get some frosting on this sucker. And look at that, it looks like some fancy cupcake from Cupcake Wars on Food Network, but all we used was a plastic bag. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to frost all my cupcakes like this, and then I have one little extra surprise that we're going to use to really take these over the top. So our cupcakes are all frosted and they're looking pretty cute, almost good enough to eat, but I did promise you one extra special touch to really kick these up a notch. So we're going to do a maple drizzle. Now I'm not just talking pour some syrup over the top, although that probably would work out. We're going to do a 1/2 cup of syrup, and we're going to melt in a 1/4 cup of these cinnamon chips. So we're going to pour our syrup into a small saucepan here. And we're going to do this over a low heat. We're going to add these in. And all we're going to do is let it cook until the chips are melted and it's all one smooth, homogeneous mixture. Alright, our drizzle is all done, it's melted up nice, and now we're going to put it onto the cupcakes. And how I'm going to do this is with one of these plastic condiment dispensers, you know, like you use for ketchup or mustard. They're super cheap and you can find it at any party store, and they're good for multiple things, not just drizzling on cupcakes. So I'm going to pour my drizzle into this baby. Alright, I think I got all the good stuff in here. So this is the fun part, we're going to make some maple artwork. And just go back and forth like this. And just keep on going to the next cupcake if you want. That is definitely the finishing touch that these cupcakes needed. They look beautiful and I can't wait to dive into one. Now this little baby is all mine, and maybe I'll share some with Reese if she's nice enough. Now if you find yourself wondering if it's okay to eat one of these for breakfast, ask yourself this. Would the smart cookie cook eat one for breakfast? The answer answer's yes.